Welcome back to Making Sense of Sounds and Scribbles. This is lesson 3, covering the sound cards for the sounds of B, C, and D. This is probably my favorite set because these doggies here represent my dogs who have now passed over the Rainbow Bridge, Alex, Cole, and Knight. So let us get started on that heartfelt moment. Again, I am Miss Keller, the reading teacher, and I teach primarily high school students who are behind in their reading or literacy skills. And these are the lessons and the sound book that I actually use with real high school students. I developed it. Here it is right here. I developed this after years of teaching this class and research and trying to figure out what is the fastest way that I can present the information that the kids are missing in their reading skill set. Because after all, as secondary teachers, especially if you're teaching this in your English classroom, we don't have a lot of time because we have other things that we're supposed to be covering. However, inside the sound book is, you can see that you've got sound cards and you have a nice little place to take the notes that are on these slides as additional notes as you see fit as a teacher. I'm not here to tell you as a secondary teacher like how to teach every single thing like step by step. I'm here to basically give you the information that I know as a reading teacher so that you can use this to teach the sounds and letters explicitly one by one with your students. I do encourage make spelling lists that are authentic based on the sound cards, word games, that kind of thing. But I'll leave the creativity part to you. But this slideshow, I'll put a link to it down below so you can access that and not have me talking all over these sound cards. But this is for you, the educator, as I walk you through how to use the sound book. All right, about the sound of B. Again, reviewing with kids that letters don't make any sounds, they represent sounds, and reminding them that we only have 26 letters in the alphabet. So we have way more than 26 sounds that we use to speak, and we have to get creative. And I just lost the lights in my classroom. Hold on a second. And we're back. Okay, so we have to get creative and we have to add letters together to represent other sounds so that we can, say, write and read all of the words that we can speak. And that brings me to another point is that I tell kids that in order to communicate with each other, we don't really have to read or write because when I'm speaking, you can understand what I'm saying. I can hear you. I can understand what you're saying. Even if I don't understand a term that you're using, I can ask you. You can tell me what you mean. But when we take, without the absence of, with the absence of sound, when we're just reading something, the only way we have to interact with that text is with our eyes and the sounds that are happening in our head. And it's really important then to make the connection between the letters on a page and the words, the sounds, and then the words that they represent. And all of that gives us our meaning. All right, so the sound of B is a consonant. The sound of B is B. It is not B. This is really important, especially with our secondary students, to have them understand that the consonant sounds don't have a or a after them. Like B is not B, it's just B. And when they get, and you'll see this in their spelling, right? You'll see a student attach a vowel sound to a consonant that doesn't belong there. That's because it's been ingrained in their brain for years that the sound of B is B. So when they hear a word like band, they might spell it ba, and they have two A's in there, like ba and spell it wrong because they are just sticking a vowel in there that doesn't belong, just because of the way the sound is built in their head. So we want to make sure that we are undoing that oftentimes, which brings me to another point. Oftentimes with our secondary students, they are having to unlearn bad habits or unlearn things that they have not been corrected on or haven't been caught yet. So when they're a new reader and writer, they don't have the misinformation that they carry with them now. So, all right, next slide. Next slide. All right, the sound of B is just B. Here is the list of words on this sound card on this slide. These are the words that they can write down. Please encourage your kids to add extra words in there that represent and have the sound of B in them. There's an exception to the sound of B, and that is with an M and a B. When a B is followed by an M at the end of a word, the B is, most of the time, it's silent. Here's our list of words where the B is silent. And you can let them know that hundreds and hundreds of years ago, we actually pronounced the sound of B. So it was B, like numb, crumb, but we don't do that anymore. So over time, the B became silent. We just left it in our spelling. So any other words you can come up with a sound of B or with the silent B at the end with the MB, knock yourselves out. Write those in your sound book. Here's a little explanation about why the B is not silent in number, even though it's following an M, and it is silent in the word plumber. Okay, here we go. So the word plumb means to be straight, right? Not crooked. But when we add the suffix onto it, it turns it into a job that somebody does, like a plumber, right? So you want plumb walls, you want plumb pipes, plumb plumbing. You don't want your pipes in your house to be all crooked. So a plumber is somebody who is fixing pipes and making sure that the water flows through. There is a related meaning for the base word of plumb with plumber as what a plumber does as a profession. The word number is its own word. If you remove the ER off of number, the word num doesn't have anything to do with numbers and numeracy. So it's not the same thing. The word number is its own. So that's why the B is actually pronounced. Food for thought. Next thing we want to look at is when B is one of those words that when the vowel is short and it's a 2 or more syllable word, you're going to double that B. So we have words like rabbit, rabble, cabbage, webbing, dribble, gobble. All of these words have a double B, and that's because we've got 2 syllables and the first syllable has a short vowel sound. You can write these words down, come up with some more if you want. Next sound card set is all about the 2 sounds of C. C is a hard K sound and a soft S sound. The rules are when a C is followed by an I or an E or a Y, it's going to be S. And when a C is followed by an A or an O or a U, it's going to be the hard K sound. Here's a couple of things to think about. When you hear the K sound at the beginning of the word, and the next sound is an A, an O, or a U, right? You're going to choose the C. When you hear the hard K sound at the beginning of the word, and the next sound is an I or an E, you're going to choose the K. Because if you choose, like if it's a hard K sound in the beginning, and you write it with the C, and it's followed by an I, now you've basically represented the sound and not the K sound, if that's the sound you're trying to keep. So these are some of the rules following the letter C that you want to teach your students explicitly. This sound card, number 14, is all about the sound for the letter C. Here's all the words, the 3 columns of words represented by the E, I, and the Y. And go ahead and tell your kids after you give them these words, come up with your own set of words. And again, I mean, if you don't want to use the words that I have on this slide and you want to use different words, that's fine too. But this just, is to make it easier for you to work with your students. Because I know that you're really busy and it's really hard to find extra time to do all the things that we have to do in our English classrooms. But your kids will thank you for it. Next, when the sound of the K sound, right, is followed by an A or an O or a U, we're going to choose the C. Here's a bunch of 3 lists of words with A, O, and U. You can write these down. Have your kids come up with other words that have the sound for the C at the beginning of a word, even in the middle of the word. But here's some columns that I have generated, and please add your own in the sound book. This is a really interesting one. When we have a C and a T, it's going to be the K sound, that hard K sound. And then you're going to hear the T sound. So you have the word like act. There's that T at the end. And action, fact, and faction, or excuse me, fraction, director, tractor, and so on. And you and your students might be able to come up with some other words that have a C followed by a T, and you're going to hear that hard K sound and then the T sound after that. And next sound card. Here we go. Here's some more rules about when do you use a C or a K or a CK or a SK. With 2 or more syllables in a word, and you hear the K sound at the end, you're going to choose the C. So we have like music, tragic, traffic, dramatic. So all 2-syllable words that end with the K sound, and we're going to use the C. And let's see, next column. When you have a single syllable word and you have a short vowel and the K sound at the end, you're going to be using the CK, and I gave you some examples of like with the, you've got SK at the end, but you're still using the K, right? So kick, stick, stack, and then mask, and then task. It's still a short vowel sound, so we got the K at the end of that. Let's see, what do we got? The last one is with a consonant or with another consonant or a long vowel team, you're going to use the K. And we look at, here is the vowel team of ook, right? So vowel team, the 2 O's are working together, the EA is working together, and so we have book and beak and leak. So we have the long vowel team, and we hear the K sound at the end, so we're gonna use that with the K. And I guess the mask and task and bask could go in this column as well. So the main thing you want to remember is at the end of the word, when you have the K sound, if it's a single syllable word, you want to end that with a K at the end. And next slide. All right, the sound of D. We read this as D, not duh, but just D. When D is followed by a U, the sound is read as J. So we've got 2 sounds for when we see the letter D. An exception is when the D is followed by a UR, which would be considered an R-controlled vowel. So the sound remains D. So let's go through the slides. All right, so the sound of D is D again, and dad, damp, dark, desk, disc, dock, and dusty. And again, my 3 little canine buddies. The letter D is doubled after a short vowel. Here are some examples of that. So fiddle, middle, riddle, muddle, puddle, and metal. Now let's look at when the D keeps the D sound after the UR. So when the letter D is followed by UR, that is an R-controlled vowel. Anytime an R follows a vowel, that R goes with the vowel, and we call that R-controlled. R is, or sometimes we call it a bossy R. It basically it's attached to whatever letter is in front of it, consonant or vowel, and it dominates the sound. All right, so we have the word during. So it's not during because it's followed by UR. And then the word endure. So again, it's not going to be the J sound, but keeps the hard D sound because it is followed by the UR. You can write any of the words in your sound book. And next sound card is the letter D followed by the U is the J sound. So we have words like graduation, gradual, education, and individual. And again, just write any other words in your sound book that represent the J sound when the D is followed by a U. And that wraps it up for this set of slides. And up next is going to be the long and short E sound. There's a lot of fun ones in there. So down below, I will put a link to this slideshow so that you can go through it with your students. And I'll put some other links to my social medias down there. And if you find this helpful, go ahead and give it a like, give it a comment. And if you have any questions, please contact me through my email or just comment, and I'll look for those and I'll get back to you. I appreciate it. And that's it for now. So we will see you next time for lesson number 4. All right, for long and short. Bye.